The murder of George Floyd thrust Minnesota into the center of the debate over police misconduct. As Fred DeSam Lazaro reports, one effort coming out of that painful period hopes to make traffic stops safer. It's part of our coverage of Race Matters issues and Fred's series, Agents for Change.
For decades, there have been tense relations between law enforcement authorities and Minnesota's communities of color, punctuated by high-profile police-involved shootings.
I have to tell you, I do have a firearm on me.
It was the 2016 death of Philando Castile during a traffic stop near St. Paul and the protests that followed that brought three 20-something black men together.
I grew up playing with the Castiles, as did Andre, and I remember even a conversation that Andre and I had where we said, how can we do something to be a part of the solution?
And I think when George Floyd occurred, the realization of what we needed to do really came to fruition.
Floyd's murder set off a light bulb for Andre Creighton and Michael Frelix, each with MBAs, and Jazz Hampton, a lawyer. It also cracked open the door to startup funding for their idea, as venture capitalists, philanthropists, and many corporations pledged their support to addressing issues of race and equity. The three left corporate careers to launch an app they called Turn Signal.
If you are pulled over, simply launch the Turn Signal app.
Its marketing slogan is, "We put an attorney in the passenger seat."
Hi, Thomas. I'm an attorney with Turn Signal.
The company now has about 50,000 subscribers at $60 a year, and 400 lawyers in 50 states have signed on. They do not act as attorneys, at least not yet. Instead, they're given specific instructions by Turn Signal on how to guide the driver to de-escalate.
We built this training to not only have attorneys look for those verbal and nonverbal cues, but really just be there for our clients to help calm them down in that interaction.
The number of times, for example, Philando Castile was pulled over was in the 40s, right? There's a lot of times to be pulled over so people can be frustrated. And it's all about how we can tell them that we're here to give them peace of mind in the moment, because if they escalate, then the officer will escalate. This isn't a court of law, it is the side of a road.
My goal is to make sure that both parties return home safe.
Minneapolis attorney Nisha Operana says her legal credentials bring extra credibility to her value as an observer. She says her virtual presence has helped lower the temperature.
I've had several interactions on both ends where, one, either the driver was emotional, upset, trying to prove a point, upset at the officer for pulling them over, and we've been able to even tell officers, can you please give me 30 seconds with this driver? Calm that driver down, and it's worked.
If the driver decides later to take the incident to court, they have the option to contact the attorney. That potential business is one incentive for Turn Signal's lawyers, who pay an annual fee of $1,000 to be listed on the app. But Operana says there's more.
I do this because I think it's important for the community, especially a group that might not always have access to justice in the same manner that other people would. We want people to be able to trust the police. We want the police to feel safe as well.
Turn Signal's founders say they regularly seek meetings with law enforcement agencies to explain the app and raise its visibility so it's not perceived as a threat or antagonistic.
What's going on?
Pulled over for speeding.
And co-founder Andre Creighton just happens to have a recent personal experience to demonstrate when he was pulled over in suburban Minneapolis and got a lawyer on the app.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ask him if he's going to give you a ticket, ask him if he would please make it out for like 64, anything under 65.
He's not walking back with papers, so well, actually, we'll see.
Is that your attorney?
Yes, my attorney. What turns?
You call your attorney over a speeding ticket?
Did you get a ticket? Did you deserve it?
I did not get a ticket. I probably did deserve a ticket.
Come out with your hands up.
However, studies show people of color are more likely than white drivers to receive a ticket or be searched or arrested. About 30% of drivers killed in traffic stops in America are black, more than twice their proportion in the general population. We've had some real trouble finding Turn Signal app users who are willing to share their stories publicly. Most were afraid that they'd become targets of future harassment. We did find one individual who lives on the East Coast who was willing to share, so long as we used only the audio portion of our Zoom interview.
He was very aggressive. But when he noticed that I turned on Turn Signal, he calmed his voice.
A West African immigrant, he denies any wrongdoing, but he did get a ticket and paid the fine. But between the initial stop and writing the citation, he says it was the officer who de-escalated.
A white guy who's talking to a black man or,
So the police officer observed a white face on the app, the lawyer, talking to you. You fear that if you talk to us, if you go public, you might be targeted.
Yes, I'll be a target. Because those who are powerless remain powerless.
We continue to layer technology on top of what is ultimately not a technological problem.
Criminology and criminal justice professor Seth Stoughton is skeptical of how much impact the app will have on entrenched social issues.
We did the same thing with body cameras. We did the same thing with dash cameras. Dash cameras, if we go back into the late 90s, early 2000s, here we are 24 years later, still struggling with the issue of racial profiling in traffic stops. I think the app is probably most promising when it comes to making people feel better.
This is all handmade stuff.
For some users, feeling better makes all the difference. Rosaline Frederick, who owns a boutique store in St. Paul, hasn't used the app during a traffic stop, but says she feels safer knowing it's available.
Every time I have like a weird interaction with the police, or like during traffic stop stuff, I'm a brown person. I immediately go into, I freeze. Having it on my phone at all times makes me feel like I don't ever have to worry about an officer pulling me over.
That peace of mind also pays a public health dividend, says Turn Signal's Michael Frelix.
Racism is a public health crisis, and where you live and where you work and where you play factor into your overall health as a human being. And so there's a lot of organizations that still truly do believe in that.
Blue Cross Blue Shield of Minnesota is among several companies and philanthropies that cover the app's subscription cost for anyone earning less than $40,000 a year, some 40% of all subscribers. The startup has met its goal so far, and the hope is, as it gets into more and more cars, begins to turn a profit in 2 years. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Fred DeSam Lazaro in Minneapolis.
Friz Reporting is a partnership with the Undertold Stories Project at the University of St. Thomas in Minnesota.